Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. We got some more Hawks and Braves content coming for you guys tonight. We're going to be examining a couple plays from the Brooklyn game from almost a week ago that Trey hit a miraculous game winner on. But we're going to be discussing the final two plays of that game that really led up to that situation, kind of saying what the Hawks did right, what they can do better, and in that situation, we're also going to be recapping the unfortunate loss. Quin Snyder's debut as a head coach here in Atlanta, spoiled by the Wizards 116-109 loss or 119 loss. So we're going to be examining that. And we're going to also preview tonight's game against the Blazers. Cam Reddish coming back to Atlanta. And then we'll also going to be previewing the Hawks Heat game tomorrow. And we also have a back-to-back against the Heat on the road on Monday. So two huge games coming up this weekend for the Hawks in divisions as well. At the end of the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about what Brian Snitker said today. He said Ozuna will be on this team. He didn't say roster, but he said we will be on this team. So we're going to kind of be discussing that, our thoughts, and what we think the left field situation really is at with spring training. Without further ado, Big Ant, we'll start with you. What did you think about these two games, the Nets game and the Wizards game from this week?
I mean, we let off. I think like in the third quarter, we let off on the gas in the third quarter against Brooklyn. And then we start getting lackadaisical on offense. And that's what led to them getting back in the game and making it a game, which it shouldn't have been a game. And then the Washington game, like we was leading by 8 points with I think like three something to go, and you automatically you stop playing defense, and then all of a sudden you don't know what the fuck to do on offense.
Yeah, we were up 108-100, and then the Wizards went on an 8-0 run, capitalized by former Hawk DeLon Wright. He had an offensive board with a Pippen. That was huge for the Wizards.
Yes. Look, me and Blackberry was talking about this a couple days ago. John Collins, man. I'm sorry, bro. Like, all these people on Twitter and Facebook can blame Trey all they want to. But John Collins, you got to give me more than 4 rebounds a night. You have to. That's what killed us. Rebounding, second chance points.
We started that game out the gates, first quarter. We were down 17-8 in the rebounding battle. So there you go.
Yeah.
Blackberry, what about you?
I just want to highlight the John Collins issue. Okay, I want to highlight John Collins issue because it's some angles of this that nobody's really paying focusing on. If we say we got to have a number 1 option and a number 2 option, and somebody needs to be a third option, the reason why that option word is in there is so that when the 1 guy or the 2 guy aren't necessarily on, the third guy should be on.
Yep.
Just taking 6 shots. Miss me with they ain't giving him the ball. The ball goes in his hand plenty of times in a damn game. I don't want to hear that.
That's a load of crap.
The ball goes to him plenty. I don't want to hear that. Then the 4 rebounds. You play 26 minutes and you manage at 6-10 to only have 4 rebounds. It's unexcusable. Now, I'm just critiquing this one particular game, but we know this been an issue with John Collins for a long time. The inconsistent play. It's been an issue for a while. The reason why he's the third option is so that when DeJounte can't get you number 15, your third option can get you another 15 to 20 and have 8 to somewhere between 8 to 12 rebounds. 4 rebounds, bro. Onyeka Okongwu only had 13 minutes of playtime because he was in foul trouble, and yet he still managed to get 6 rebounds.
Yeah, good point. I mean, and what you mentioned the officiating there with the fouls, and you mentioned this, Ant, too. In the middle of the third quarter, our offense really seemed to turn really bad.
Yeah.
The officiating in that third quarter was absolutely nuts. Onyeka Okongwu and DeAndre Hunter were not allowed to play defense, and believe me, I'm the last person to try and blame a game on the refs. But our offense was a smooth flowing machine before that happened, before that segment of the game, and we should have put the game away at that 8-0 run. But they had that 8-0 run, and like you said, Ant, down the stretch, just weren't able to execute. And Trey, and we'll get into this a bit later when we fully examine the game. But Trey did take accountability after the game in the post conference, which you like. He said he needed to close better, and he absolutely did. He got blocked for like 3-4 straight possessions. Got to kick those out. I understand, it. And for me personally, as a guard in basketball, it's fun to try and get into the paint, finish around those taller guys. Put in your Euro steps, your floaters, your left-handed layups, and stuff like that. But sometimes you got to know when to pass it out. And I think Trey did a little bit of didn't mix and match that quite well down the stretch in that Wizards game.
Yeah.
But now I want to go into the film room, right? So this game against the Nets was a great game in many aspects. I mean, we had an 18-point lead in the first half. We had a great first half. That second half, we were more average. The Nets got hot from beyond the arc, and especially Cam Johnson, who hit this shot to tie the game before Trey's game winner.
And here is Dinwiddie. Is he looking for a three? Not yet. Dodo driving to the corner. Johnson to tie, and he does it. Cam Johnson.
So specifically with that play, I saw a lot on Twitter. People were blaming Bogey for helping in there, and that is definitely a mistake on Bogey's part. When the Nets are in a 5-out situation, when the Nets are in a 5-out situation like this, you definitely and you're up by 3, you definitely do not want to give up to give up an open 3. We're up 127-124. You can live with Dorian Finney-Smith driving on you and getting a layup. Yeah. But in this specific instance, and this all starts with Dre. DeAndre Hunter closes out a little bit recklessly here, closing out with his lead foot. And at a young age, you're taught in basketball, if somebody's trying to defend you with an unbalanced stance, meaning one of their feet is in front of the other, if you drive at that lead foot, they're not going to be able to recover in time. And that's the first mistake Dre makes here with Dorian Finney-Smith allowing to drive by him. And the second one is Onyeka. So Onyeka's, granted, he's outside the paint. He's outside of his comfort area. So we'll give him a little bit of pass on this one, but you got to know the situation, and you can't let the ball get down the middle when the other team is in 5-out. And that's what he does here. In the second part of this play, we've also got Saddiq Bey and Bogey involved. DeJounte is not involved in this play, as you can see him in the far corner, and that's unfortunate. One of your best defensive players, you definitely want him involved. But in the second part of the play, you have Bogey going in to help there, the wrong decision, right? That's the third mistake the Hawks make. But number 4, Saddiq Bey here is not in a position to play 2-1. What 2-1 means is you try to zone out a pass. You can see that Saddiq Bey is guarding Royce O'Neal, but he can also get in the middle of those two and play 2-1 with Cam Johnson and Royce O'Neal. He's got to rotate a bit earlier to make sure that pass to Cam Johnson isn't easy for Dorian Finney-Smith to let go, and he can't get a lot of power on it. Because he's late, all that rotation, you've got...
And here is Dinwiddie. Is he looking for a 3?
So,
not yet.
as soon as Dorian Finney-Smith gets in the paint, Saddiq Bey should be there on Cam Johnson, but he's a little bit late there, allowing Cam Johnson to get that 3. But what were your guys' initial reactions and thoughts to that play, and kind of how it all unfolded?
My initial thought was, why in the hell is Onyeka Okongwu worried about a pick being set at that far out of the top of the key?
Yeah, I'll pull that picture up again. Yeah, you see Dinwiddie here is like at least 30 feet out.
This is shameful. This is just basketball IQ right here.
It's all up here, man.
This is basketball IQ right here. Let me tell you, let me tell you something I tell my kids when they come running to me and telling on each other, Mara did this, Seth did that. I say, who made the first mistake?
Oh.
Who made the first mistake? Whichever one you made the first mistake, you invited the other mistakes to come in for a party. Yuck ain't had no business being that far out of the paint, knowing if they get the ball inside, he got the option to kick it out, swing it out to a wingman. That's the highest percentage shot to make is right there. Well, Cam Johnson made that shot. That's the highest percentage shot in that instance. Why are you worried about a shot that's that far outside the key being made from a pick being set? You gonna have two people you're gonna have two men that's out of the play at the top of the key. One is not a 3-point shooter, and the other is looking to find somebody to take the shot, not himself, because they know they need a 3. So the whole point of that, when you space the flow out like that, you're trying to get the ball inside. This is basketball 101. They spread out the court because they want to get the ball inside so that they can find an open man when the closeout come.
Yep.
Onyeka Okongwu ain't had no business being that far out the paint.
Yep.
Why are you worried about that shot all the way out there?
Yeah.
That was my initial reaction. That's my first reaction to that play.
And what about you?
I mean, it's a ripple effect. I mean, that's what threw off, us. How can I put it? That's what threw everybody off. That's why Bogey was out of place. That's why Sadiq was out of place because of that one player that was out of place at the top of the key. You ain't have no business being that hot. You force them to drive the ball. And then, okay, if they make it, so what? Good. Now you got to play the clock. You gonna force them to foul you. I mean, that's just it. They ain't have no choice.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just like, you can't get out of rotation like that.
Yeah, and there's the chain reaction, like I mentioned. So starting with DeAndre Onyeka up top here, and then Sadiq and Bogey making some mistakes down low. The chain reaction when one mistake happens like that, especially at the end of the game when tensions are high, heartbeats racing, it's definitely easy to get caught up in the moment. And I think that's what that's what some of our defenders did. But overall, one overarching theme about this play, you want DeJounte Murray involved in this play. That probably it was a smart move from Jacques Vaughn to get Bogey and Sadiq isolated on one side of the floor together. I don't know if that was on purpose, but if it was, that's a smart play. But the Hawks got to probably try and find a better way to try and get DeJounte Murray involved in this play. Maybe starting up top here, you could have DeJounte Murray cut off middle and DeAndre Hunter. So once you see Dorian Finney-Smith drive middle, DeJounte Murray, if he's able to, could have tried to cut that off, and DeAndre Hunter quickly switched to the other side to guard. I can't quite tell. Oh, that's Mikal Bridges in the far corner. So that was an option, but especially in the heat of the moment, that's really hard to do. And if they didn't communicate that before the play started, I completely understand that. But it was definitely interesting to examine that play because there were a lot of moving parts in that when it wasn't just on one player. But right. we all know how this game ended. If you didn't know, Trey hit a miraculous game winner, which I'll play for you right here.
5 seconds. He comes over the timeline at 4. Trey looking to drive.
Game time.
Shoots. Hits it.
That was an incredible shot. At first, I thought Spencer Dinwiddie was clearly going to block this shot from behind.
From behind, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it.
And it looked like he had his hand all the way over him, but miraculously he just missed it. Trey, knowing Mikal Bridges was going to be all up in his face, aggressive defense, used the pump fake well to his advantage, and steps through, is able to make that little free throw line extended jump shot for the win. But yeah, that game just had a lot of interesting plays and some moving parts toward the end that ultimately resulted in a great win for the Hawks, and 2-0 under Joe Prunty for his time as a head coach. So that's awesome for Joe.
Right.
But now we'll get into the specifics of this Wizards game. Sorry, the 116-119 loss to the Wizards. And I know you guys said your initial reactions, but when you've got guys like Beal and Kuzma who were really hot in the first half, especially in the first quarter, Beal had 13 at the end of the first, and Kuzma within the first couple minutes of the second already had 14. What do you do to try and slow them down at the beginning of the game? Because when they've got 20-plus points, or in Beal's case, 25-plus heading into the fourth, it's going to be hard to stop scores like that when they're already in that rhythm. What would you have liked to see us done earlier?
I mean,
I would go ahead.
Exactly, South.
I mean, it's nothing really you could do. Like just allow them to just go ahead, go off. But everybody else, you can't allow them to do anything, like at all. Like, okay, y'all want to outscore everybody? Okay, go right ahead. Good. But then everybody else, no. You got to step up your defense, on the back end.
And our defense was really good in this first half. Like we allowed 27 and 25 to Washington in the first half, but then back-to-back 30-point quarters in the second half with 33 and 34. The Wizards only had, you had Kuzma with 28, great game. Beal with 37, amazing game. Like they were on it all night. And Gafford had 13. But other than that, only 3 double-digit scores. So overall, we did a pretty good job containing the others. But this is maybe one of those games where it definitely is where you tip your cap to the other guy, say, all right, Bradley Beal, David's making some tough shots, especially in that second half. What about you, Blackberry?
Yeah, I would typically say make your offense your defense. Go at those guys on the offensive end. Go at Beal on the offensive end. Force him to have to play defense a little more than what he wants to by attacking him with the ball. Get to the free throw line if you can. That's what I say. Slowing the game down by getting to the free throw line, attacking Beal. He's not a great defender. Kuzma is okay, but attack those guys on the ball and force them to have to play man defense, and hopefully get them in a little foul trouble. Get to the line. I would typically say that, but and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but these fouls they're not getting called. They're not getting called because we did attempt to do that. DeJounte was attacking, Trey was attacking, and they was attacking Beal and Kuzma, but we couldn't get no calls. We couldn't get these guys get calls, man. I mean, I don't understand what it is, but that's what I would typically say. But with that being said, we controlled the game most of the game. It was just in those last 6 minutes, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna get to that. But
no, you're right. If you wanna introduce that topic, we can go ahead and talk about it, and we'll start with South. We'll start with Southside's comment as well. But if you want to go ahead, Blackberry.
Yeah, it's just you was in control of this game for like the first 42 to 44 minutes of this game. You was in well control of this game. It came down to closing the game out, and this was one of those games where you put the ball in your best player's hand, and it's up to him to be smart with the ball, make the right decisions, and protect the ball. And Trey did none of those things. He failed on all of those things. He gave the ball away. He literally threw this game away. Trae Young threw this game away. He didn't single-handedly do it, but he threw this game away. And when you're closing a team out, you got to make your shots. Especially again when you got 2 guys that's cooking on the other side. You got 2 guys that's cooking the whole game.
Well, for me, Trey, and this goes back to Southside's comment here that I put up. He disagrees with Trey that he creates penetration, and that's what he does. Like, Trey did a great job getting into the paint at the end of this game. But I just think I didn't see him try and take a lot of floaters in this game. He went to try and take layups at Gafford, and that probably was not a smart decision. The one thing I do disagree with this take is because the one thing I do agree here with is DeJounte Murray. I mean, Trey was cooking tonight. Trey was cooking in that game. He had an amazing game overall. But DeJounte Murray didn't really see the ball at all in the clutch in this game. And I kind of wanted to see him a little bit more, especially when you have a good defender. And Hawks fans noticed, like DeLon Wright on Trae Young. I mean, we've seen Trey cook Drew Holiday. We've seen him cook Ben Simmons. But DeLon Wright, and DeLon got cooked for the majority of this game. But in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, he was able to force Trey into some tough shots and really force him into positions that Gafford was able to get a great contest or even block the shot on him. So that's where Trey says, okay, maybe it's time to give the ball to DeJounte. Let's see what he can do. Or maybe put a screen and roll into place and see how that goes. But we know we're going to go ISO heavy in a close game. That's just how today's NBA is. As much as it frustrates fans, and it frustrates me too, ISO ball with your superstar is what it is, and All-Star is what it is these days in the NBA. So you're going to lose a game with the superstar, you're going to win your game with the superstar. It's either or. So that's one thing I will say to that. What do you think, Ant? What do you think we did in the first half that we went away from in the second half?
Ball movement. It was. I didn't see a lot of ball movement in that second half at all,
especially in that fourth quarter.
Especially in the fourth quarter, yes. And then also, we stopped doing our bread and butter. Like, nobody can stop our pick and roll. At all. Like, our pick and roll is unstoppable. We know this. And it just went away in that second half. That's
just today's NBA. I mean, I would love to see it, the pick and roll in the clutch, but unfortunately we don't. Kuzma and the Southside that said this as well. Kuzma didn't really shoot that efficiently. He went 10 for 26 from the field to get those 28 points. But Beal 17 for 30 on 37 points. He was really efficient. And one thing in this game that kind of bothered me a bit was we could normally really count on DeJounte Murray to give defensive effort, get around those screens, and force him to stay on his man instead of get a switch and a mismatch. But this game, I didn't really feel like he was fighting through those screens as much, giving that defensive effort. I know Bradley Beal's a good scorer. He's not really an efficient scorer, but he's a good scorer. And DeJounte, especially, and it's really hard against the Wizards. Number one, Taj Gibson is that was the most
field playing
of Taj Gibson you'll ever see. The moving screens that he sets throughout his career, he should be fouling out in every other game in his career. And I'm not joking. Like, you can see it on the replays. These are all moving screens. But when Daniel Gafford was setting legal screens, DeJounte, I didn't feel like was giving that defensive effort to try and get around or over or even under those screens if that was the game plan. And it forced a lot of switches from Trey on Bradley Beal, and Beal, frankly, took advantage of that mismatch.
Right. In
the third quarter, I want to go back to how we started that quarter, because Trey at the beginning of this game was not shooting it very well. He was passing it well, but he started the game. He had 10 points at halftime. It wasn't really a great shooting night for Trey. But coming out of the third quarter, and lately we've seen this from the Hawks, much like the Warriors the last few years. And if you saw the Warriors game last night against the Clippers, they blitzed the Clippers in that third quarter. Trey, at the beginning of this third quarter, had 8 of our first 16 points, and the Hawks scored 16 points in the first 4 minutes and 15 seconds of the third. Our offense was cooking, like you said in that first half. But after that, that is when Onyeka Okongwu, DeAndre Hunter got called for those fouls. We weren't able to keep that offensive rhythm, and like you said right there, all went downhill. We let the refs get to us, and granted, I was as a fan, I was really upset watching that, and I couldn't imagine the players. I can imagine the players be more upset, but it definitely was something that got into the players' heads, I think, and I think Quin Snyder mentioned that in his post game conference. I think the officiating got to us tonight, and it did look like it towards the end of that third quarter, and ultimately at the end of the fourth.
Yeah, why we can't get the home court love like everybody else around the league get?
Yeah,
I don't get it. Even at home, we don't get no love from the refs. I just don't understand.
And one of the last points I want to bring up from this game, Saddiq Bey has been incredible shooting the ball since he came to Atlanta. He's shooting, I'm pretty sure it's 13 for 20 on threes with us. That's all, obviously over 50%. And when you have Saddiq Bey shooting good shots and he doesn't force anything, you don't put the ball in his hands to make plays, he can be a great knockdown shooter. And that's what he's been when he's come here. So that's a really positive sign. As well, our two best shooters right now, Bogdanovic. When we know after Bogey comes back from any injury rehab or resting, All-Star break, for example, this is the Bogey that we need to get all the time. Shooting lights out for three. He was 4 for 5 from three coming into that fourth quarter tonight. And Saddiq also was 4 of 8 from three in the game. So that's the Bogey that we can play in spurts. That, like I said last week, or was it the week before, those 22, 23 minute a night Bogey points, he'll be so much more efficient and get great shots. So, but let's move on to Southside's comment here, and we'll start with you, Blackberry, because I think this is a necessary conversation because I've seen this a lot on Twitter.
It is. It's something that's been going around the fan base for ever since Saddiq got here. After that first game, I'm gonna say after that first game that he played. I don't care what nobody say. I'm not putting $120 million coming off the bench. You're stuck with him now. You didn't get him. You didn't trade him. You didn't trade him in the offseason. You didn't trade him before the deadline. You're stuck with him. Start him. But just because you start him don't mean he got to get the same minutes he been getting. If you want to chop his minutes off a little bit, do that. Take him down. I think he played 26 the other night. I mean, he should have played more. He should be playing at least 30 if he can play without having the cotton nail up his ass. But since he still got the cotton nail up his ass, you take them 26 minutes down to about 20 minutes and get them minutes to one of them young guys.
Mm-hmm.
JJ didn't play not 1 minute the other night.
Yeah, that was the first time we saw that from Quin Snyder. It was definitely weird. It
was weird. And for somebody please explain to me why we traded for Bruno Fernando and he's only played in garbage time when we blew somebody out.
I mean, I'll answer that. I mean, I don't think, and this is just in my personal experience, I've never seen a team with a 3-center rotation be effective ever. I mean, you had 3-center roulette over here in Charlotte for the majority of the first half of the season before the trade deadline with Mason Plumlee, Nick Richards, and Mark Williams. And you saw how that was working in Charlotte. I mean, fans were criticizing Steve Clifford from the end of the world to the other. So, like, I don't think 3-center rotation is plausible. But, yeah, and just like Robert's saying, I think it's just for depth. I don't think Bruno will see the court in meaningful minutes.
I mean, he probably should, but like you're saying, he probably won't. Yeah. And the reason why I say should, because it's not like when Bruno left the Hawks, he went and got better.
Oh yeah, he's much better.
He went and got better. He crashes boards. He plays hard-nosed defense. That's what if we could get a guy with a little passion and a little chip on his shoulder, maybe Bruno got that. To be out there on the defensive end and crashing them boards when you got John Collins only getting 4. I mean, I'm just saying. But tonight, people got to think about this. Some of y'all complain about the size of the team, which is crazy because they're not undersized except for the point guard position. Clint Capella might be undersized compared to height with all these with some of these teams around the league at center, but he's still giving you what you want out of your center. He's giving you a double every night. He's giving you that. So I don't know why you're still saying you're undersized. I mean, you got a guard, you got a 6'5" shooting guard, and you got another 6'6" guard coming off the bench. You got a 6 foot set, you got 6'7" and 6'8" small forwards. You got 6'10" power forwards. Well, you're not undersized. Stop it. You're not undersized.
Preach. Not even close.
But if you start Saddiq Bey and don't start John Collins, guess what? Now you're even smaller than what y'all complaining about being anyway.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Y'all can't have it all. Just because a guy come off the bench. Can I use a team for an example, Mikey?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna use the Sacramento Kings with Mike Bibby, Bobby Jackson, Chris Webber. How tall was Vlade Divac? Vlade Divac was he 7 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was.
He was the only 7 foot on the team, right?
One actually.
Everybody else was 6'10" and under. Bobby Jackson was a small point. Bobby Jackson might be the smallest point shooting guard to ever play in the damn NBA.
But he could run.
But he could run, and he had playmaking ability.
Yep.
I mean, listen, y'all focused on the wrong thing. We know John Collins can play better than what he been playing. We done seen him play better. But like Coach made actually a pretty good point. Maybe he was on them PEDs when he was playing like that during that Eastern Conference Finals journey that we went on. I mean, he got caught the year after. I'm just saying it was the season after he got. I mean, maybe he just need to take smaller dosages and just take a half a pill every now and then. Stop taking the whole thing, and maybe you won't get caught. But I'm just saying, you can't have it all, fans. You can't have it all.
And I'll kind of piggyback off that with having it all. With you can't have it all. One thing that fans need to realize, and this is going to be difficult for Quin Snyder, and I kind of appreciate something from Nate McMillan for this, and that's rare for this team for this year. If you're a really, really big Nate critic, but John Collins before this year was an average 3-point shooter or an above average 3-point shooter, mid 30%. Like he'd be good for 2 on like 5 attempts, for example. Before this year, he hasn't shot the 3 ball this year, but he's been incredible defensively this year, taking huge steps forward in rim protection, in on ball even, and that was a liability for him in previous years. But think about this: what is Saddiq Bey good at? On his hand, you got elite shooting, you got a little bit of a faster lineup. What is John Collins good at? Defense, rim protection, and he gives you that anchor veteran leadership.
I see where you're going there.
Now look at this. These are so polar opposites. I could stretch my hands off screen here like I'm doing now. You got Saddiq Bey over here, who is a great shooter but terrible defensively. I'd want, like, I don't know, some fans will say Saddiq Bey can be okay defensively. Like, if you look at it closely, I think he's probably a bottom 4 worst defender on our team so far this year since he's got here. So you got that on this hand. Now on this arm, you got John Collins, who can't shoot at all, but is great defensively. So Quin Snyder is going to have to consider which guy is on it that night and which got to close. Because you're right, Blackberry. No way John Collins doesn't start for this team. No way. But
no way.
There will always be fans who say Saddiq Bey should have closed this game. We needed the shooting. Oh, John Collins should have closed this game. We allowed too many points in the paint. they're so polar opposite of players that you're never going to get the best of both worlds here. So this puts Quin Snyder in such a tough situation, and I don't think we're going to hear the end of it from Braves fans on social media because I don't think the majority of them don't realize that, and I think that's a huge point to consider because it puts such a tough position, puts Quin Snyder in such a tough position, and the rest of the coaching staff, as well as the players, because you don't know if you're John Collins or if you're Sadiq Bey. Who's closing the game? Me? Like it's going to be a game-to-game basis. So keep that in mind. I want a lot of fans to listen to that and keep that in mind when you watch the team and what the lineups are down the stretch.
Right.
But as we close in our comments for this game, any last thoughts before we move on to previewing tonight's game against the Blazers?
So just get the Dame time.
Let's get it.
Dame time. All right. Hawks, Blazers tonight at home, 7:30. We know Damian Lillard, what he did last weekend. He dropped 71 points. Granted, it was against the Rockets. Got to keep that one on mind. Against the Rockets, but Damian Lillard, 13 threes. Top one of the best closers in crunch time in NBA history. Probably easily top 10. And I don't know off the top of my head, but could be top 5.
Yeah, I got to give him top 5, man.
You got to give him top 5. Okay. So this game, if this game is close, we're going to need Trey and DeJounte, and Trey specifically, much better than last game if this game is close down the stretch. What do you guys think we can do to make sure that Dame doesn't have that opportunity to close us out?
I mean, the last game they played against the Pelicans, he didn't really go off like that, and they lost.
Which worries me.
If Damian Lillard, if we've seen this Blazers team, don't get fooled. Like this Blazers team has not played well this season. Damian Lillard has been excellent, but as a team, Jeremy Grant, Damian Lillard, they've been good. Anthony Simon's been injured most of the year. He's out again tonight with that ankle sprain. But we've got a great defender, DeJounte Murray, to put on Dame. We've got a great, an elite defender, in my opinion, the best defender on the team, in DeAndre Hunter, to put on Jeremy Grant. They're 2 best scorers. Anthony Simon's out tonight. We should be holding this team as long as Dame doesn't go off, because we know he can get his even on the best defenders in the world. If Dame does not go off, we should hold this team under 110 points tonight. No questions asked. I think that'll be the key. It'll be the defensive end.
Yeah.
Can we run them out the gym too? Because we got to play fast. We're 73.6 percentage according to ESPN analytics to win this game, and the Trailblazers just 26.4.
Mike, can I recognize something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it just me, or does it feel like we look a whole lot better when Jalen Johnson plays?
With our fast break,
of the game.
Our fast breaks and our offense in transition looks amazing.
I'm starting to really think this young man is figuring this out more and more and more the more opportunities he gets. I like him on the defensive end. I like him running the floor, and it's going to be important tonight, because if it's a track meet, which I'm kind of going down that road, it's probably going to be a track meet tonight.
Yeah.
You're going to need a guy with energy at the end of the game to be able to do what Jalen Johnson does best, and that's run the damn floor. Just like Mikey just said.
Yeah.
Because if the shooters get hot like they did the other night, but we didn't close it out, like Bogut wasn't in the game, I get it, but he got hot in that game. Sadiq was hot. Trey had a little point of the game where he got hot.
Trey dropped 37 in the Wizards game.
He did.
Or 31, actually. It was.
31. He took 26 shots.
Oh, he did.
But
yeah.
that's the typical Trey Young night anyway. I ain't worried about. I ain't complaining about that. Well, it took him 26 shots to get 31. And 31 points is 31 points. I don't care how many he had to take to get them. He got whatever. That's a whole nother topic. But you're gonna when when the shots stop falling, you have to be able to get rebounds and play defense. When the shot stop falling, because it's gonna come. Nobody's hot from horn to horn. So you need the Jalen Johnsons. I really hope he get the PT he needs, and I want to see him play about 17 to 20 minutes tonight.
I hope so, man. He needed.
An interesting thing from Quin Snyder today, and about an hour ago, he said Onyeka Okongwu has been repping out on his 3-point shooting, and he said it may not show up tonight, but he thinks it will in the future. So that's really interesting, because if we got Onyeka going to be out to the 3-point line and the way he's been playing defense lately, with this offseason, how we're going to look to extend DeJounte Murray, and his free agency is coming up after next season. Clint Capella might be on the chopping block this offseason. Him or Bogey, I think is gone after the season. And if Onyeka has the ability to stretch this floor even more with Trey, and he can take maybe 2 or 3 a night and hit one of those, that's helps this team tremendously. So I'm really looking forward to Onyeka developing that 3-ball.
It's gonna be an interesting offseason. I'm gonna tell you that, boy. It's gonna be real interesting. I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, it definitely will. One thing we did well in the Wizards game, though, was share a rock. We got 7 of our guys scoring double digits, but one guy that didn't, and who's been struggling lately, I'm looking for him to shoot way better than he has been lately, is AJ Griffin.
Yeah.
AJ Griffin.
He's been before the Wizards game, I think, over his last 10 games, he was shooting 23% from 3. And on decent volume, how many threes he takes. So I wonder if that has a pattern with his minutes, because he only played 16 minutes, and last few games he's on a downward trend in minutes. So I wonder what Quin Snyder sees, but we really need his shooting on his team, because Quin Snyder loves to take a lot of threes. We know that with the Jazz. And I didn't mention this before, but Quin Snyder played Bojan Bogdanovic at the 4 a lot in Utah.
Yeah,
he had him starting. So maybe he likes Sadiq Bey over John Collins. Like we said before, I don't think we'll see Sadiq start. But yeah, like Southside said, last 12 threes, 1 for 12 before the Wizards game, which is just it's not great.
It was bad.
And I wonder, we closed the game out with Sadiq Bey. I wonder if we see more Sadiq Bey tonight. But I don't think the Blazers have terrible paint defense. Drew Eubanks is a decent player. He's a decent paint protector, especially against that Pelicans. He had 3 huge blocks in that game. But I think the Hawks can really take advantage of the perimeter defense liability that the Blazers have. Besides Jeremy Grant tonight, they're not going to have great defenders. They traded away Josh Hart. We know Cam Reddish is a great off-ball defender, but on-ball, we didn't really see a lot from him. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, guys. How do you think we match up with the Blazers defensively? Because we know we're going to have probably DeJounte on Dame, DeAndre on Jeremy Grant. But how do the Blazers match up with us? And what do you think? Who do you think they're going to put on Trey and DeJounte, and even Dre, if you want to say that too?
I don't know. Wait, let's see. Who do they have now?
They're probably gonna start Shaedon Sharpe most likely at the 2, and then you've got Cam Reddish at the 3 with Jeremy Grant, Dame, and Drew Eubanks.
Oh, Cam.
So, I think for me, you've got Cam Reddish is gonna guard DeAndre Hunter. I think it's either DeAndre Hunter or DeJounte Murray, because you're not putting Dame on Trey. No way.
He's not. No, they probably gonna put Grant on him.
Well, if you put Grant on Trey, then JC, you better have a good game tonight.
Oh, he better go off.
You better. If he's being defended by Jeremy Grant's an elite defender. So like if JC doesn't have the best game tonight, if he's active, if he shows effort, that's fine. But Jeremy Grant's a really good defender, so I'm fine with that. But if JC is guarded by Cam Reddish, Shaedon Sharpe, we know he's not going to be defended by Damian Lillard. He's got to put in a great game tonight.
Yeah, this is your night, John Collins. This,
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, you got to get the Shaman tissue out your ass.
For me, I actually think they're still gonna stick Jeremy Grant on John Collins. I think they'll put Cam Reddish on Dre, and we might get or they might put Cam on Trey and have Shaden Sharp guard guard DeJounte with Damian Lillard guarding DeAndre Hunter. And if that happens, DeAndre Hunter and DeJounte Murray,
They should
go off.
cook. They should cook.
And they better.
Both Sharp and Lillard are terrible defenders.
I mean, DeAndre Hunter and John Collins, give them a reason to put Grant
Great
on
great
you.
set.
Give them a reason to put Grant on you. Give them a reason.
Yes.
Give them a reason to put their best defender.
Blackberry, I think we lost you. We can't hear you.
Y'all can't hear me?
No, now we can.
We hear you now.
Oh, something Trey should be able to do is to force that. But those guys got to be on. DeAndre got to be on. John Collins got to be on. Force them to have Grant on one of you all and not on DeJounte or Trey.
Yeah, and that's
that's. Go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say Southside. Me too. I wanted Jeremy Grant on this team really badly. He'd be an excellent fit next to Trey and DeJounte and Dre at the 4. But yeah, it didn't happen. I love Jeremy Grant as a player. I think he's really good. But
I think I was prone to that idea as well. When I was liking that idea.
Yeah, I think I remember my ideal offseason last year before Andrew Wiggins got extended. I wanted Wiggins and Grant on this team, and I think that would have been great before the DeJounte deal was introduced. I think Wiggins and Grant would be great additions to this team before he got extended.
Yeah, our defense would have been.
It never would have included Dre in that trade. We could have played Andrew Wiggins at the 2. But it was like I said, that's not going to happen anymore. So that's done.
But it's done.
Any other last comments on tonight's game before we go over the Heat game tomorrow?
No, I got to roll. I got to get up here to this house. So I would just say real quick, tomorrow against Miami, depending on how the night goes, I want it to be like tonight didn't even happen in Miami. I want it to be like we didn't even have a game. I don't care what happened in this game tonight.
Yep.
I don't want to see lackluster play. I don't want to see preventable turnovers. I don't want to see any of that in that Miami game. I don't want no excuses. It's time to put up a shut up. You done fired your coach. You done went and made some trades that really I wasn't expecting us to make. So it's time to put up a shut up. There's no more excuses from this point. Back to back, you got to go down to Miami. I know what that can be like going from Atlanta to Miami. A lot of people think it's easy, but they not. That's not an easy trip. It's really not. So I don't want no excuses, okay? Whatever happened, if you blow them out, you better go down there and you better play like you ain't just blew somebody out. If you get your ass handed to you tonight, you better go make up for it tomorrow. And that's all I'm gonna say. But hey, I gotta roll out of here, home team. Y'all know what time it is. I might come check in for Friday Night Madness after this. Y'all give it up to Mikey. He do a hell of a job when he ain't out there taking them folks' money on the court. He do a hell of a job right here on the stream.
Appreciate you.
All right, Mikey. I'll check y'all.
All right, Blackberry.
Catch you later.
Safe, bro.
For me against the Heat, this team. Not this team. This game with Miami and Monday's game are the two biggest games of the season.
I agree.
In division, this team is in the 6th seed, and we got teams right behind us too. The Wizards, the Raptors, right behind us in the standings.
Literally,
and we want to to keep that 6 seed dream alive, and that's kind of sad that we're saying that, but the 6 seed dream alive, we gotta win these 2 games.
Yeah,
like Black said, it doesn't matter what we've done to this point. Even tonight's game, even the entire season before this, these 2 games, I think, will put a huge impact on our season. If it's gonna stamp our ticket out of the playoffs, or give us like a close to 80% chance, in my opinion, of making that 6 seed. What about you, Blackberry? Well, not Blackberry. Ant, what do you think?
I agree. Those 2 games are gonna. It's going to be pivotal for us. For what are we going to look like for the rest of the season? What we look like against Miami.
We know that the Miami Heat beat us in 5 games last year in the playoffs. It was a bad look. Trey had a terrible series. We know this team should come out here firing on all cylinders. Like, that's not going to happen again. And we know a lot part of the reason was nobody tried to give Trey that much help except for DeAndre Hunter in that series. And by the way, lest we forget, DeLon Wright was our best player in that entire series last year. So when you got DeAndre Hunter, who really showed out in that Game 5 loss, and Trey really didn't have a great series, you got a lot of people with a chip on their shoulder who are going to want to get back in Miami, and we got to use that to play well tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree. And, also, they're not going to be able to just cut off the, side of the court like they did in that series last year. Because now, it depends on what DeJounte shows up. And what Hunter shows up as well.
Yeah, I think if we see efficient DeAndre Hunter, that's always a welcome sight. With scorers like DeJounte and Trey, we just need Trey to knock down his open shots. I mean, the few times when he's on fire, scoring like 20 points heading into the 3rd quarter, give him the ball, let him go to work, right? But on the chance that he's not, just be ready to knock down that 3 ball, and he has been lately. He's been. I know a couple games going into the All-Star break, he had a rough shooting after that asthma attack, but he had 3 shots against the Brooklyn Nets. And that definitely needs to be effective. And for our offense to be effective, really, because we know Quin Snyder likes to shoot a lot of threes. The Miami Heat are a great perimeter defensive team. So it's going to be kind of a strength against strength with Quin Snyder's system against Eric Spoelstra's defense. So it'll be an interesting matchup tomorrow for sure.
I agree. Can we knock down our shots? And then also, can we knock down our mid-range shots too?
Mid-range shots, because Bam Adebayo's got to have that paint locked down.
Yeah, he's going to have that paint locked down. We know that for sure.
One thing I do want to see from the Capella inside, though, against Bam, I want to see him dominate the boards, because that's 2 decently undersized center, if you want to call them that, undersized, going at each other in the paint. So Clint Capella, the way he's been rebounding this season, I hope he keeps it up. Because we can't have Bam kicking it out to Tyler Hero, Max Strus, Jimmy Butler, who else? Great, Duncan Robinson if he plays, Gabe Vincent. We can't have him kicking out those offensive rebounds for threes. That's going to hurt us so much.
We got to stay connected on defense.
Yeah, we do. I want to address 2 questions here in the comments before we move on to a little bit of Braves talk. Robert asked, what moves do you think the Hawks can or will need to make this offseason? What do you think, Ant?
Well, it's dependent on what we do with Bogey and or CC. Like, we're gonna have to bring in a big man. Like that's not even a question, because, and I'm gonna keep going back to this, just like Blackberry was. We have until, well, I'm not gonna say that, because what you are now is what you're gonna be for the rest of your career. We need to get tougher down low. Like that's just it. Like we have to, especially power forward. That's a must.
Yeah, the power forward, we need to get that situation sorted. I think during this offseason, when Quinn has a little bit more time to establish his system, to establish rotations, we'll get a bit better look at what this roster is going to be, especially with that Sadiq Bey, John Collins rotation. But this offseason, I don't necessarily look forward to it. I know Blackberry said he's going to be sitting on pins and needles about it, but I think one of Bogdan Bogdanovic, and I think you hinted at this too, Bogdan Bogdanovic or Clint Capella is going to be gone from this team in this offseason. We cannot, if Tony Wrestler stays under the tax, we can't have both of them on a roster and extend DeJounte. So if one of them goes, it's going to be disappointing, but I think it might be Bogey. Trey loves Clint. He loves playing with him. He's a great veteran too when Trey was a rookie. So I don't think they'll try and hold on to Clint Capella as much as possible. But a counter argument to that is you can't have a number 6 pick and Onyeka Okongwu with how he's been playing lately ride the bench for the first 4+ years of his career.
That is true. That is true.
So it's going to be a really interesting offseason for sure. But I think it's going to be interesting in the fact that we're not going to be bringing a lot of guys from the outside of this organization in. It's going to be internal decisions that are really going to be interesting heading into next season. And I think they're going to be made quickly too.
So we got to ask ourselves then, how many years or how many quality years does CC really have? That's going to be the question.
That's the thing, because we know Clint Capella age is getting up there. Is he 33?
I believe so.
Okay, so if Clint Capella's 33 years old, you've got him on kind of had his plateau right here. Probably 34 plus 35, you're going to see him start major dipping down.
Yeah.
And you need to have Onyeka Okongwu ready to go as your full-time starting center at that point. But you don't want him to trade Capella at that moment because teams will know that. You want to trade him at a higher point so you can get him for him. And that's the reason why I think it might be Capella. I can't. I know I proposed that it might be Bogey Capella. I really can't decide right now. I think we'll need to see, especially how we play in the playoffs or play in.
Southside said he's 28.
Oh, he's 28. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, hold on.
No. Okay. I don't know. I was my bad on that one. That was bad. But if Clint Capella's 28, and we know his Achilles has bothered him, I don't know if Trae Young is going to want the organization to move on from Capella. But at the same time, it might be best interest in the organization to get the highest value for Capella while you can. So it's really going to be interesting to see what we do here, Bogey or Capella. But I don't think both of them will be on this team come the start of next season.
Yeah, like what we got to do, like as fans, we have to don't get too attached to a player. We have to think about what's better for our future down the line, like in 3 to 5 years. We have to start thinking about that right now. Like, yeah, he's great right now, but what is he going to look like in 2 to 3 years? Is he going like you said, Mikey? Is he going to hit that wall? Then now we're stuck. We don't have a backup. We do have a backup plan, but
Bruno.
Like
as a win now team, you probably don't want Bruno playing significant minutes at this point.
No. I mean, cleanup, yes, but significant, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what we do. Capella and Bogey, these are two guys with significant bottom of your body injuries, so like leg injuries, knees, Achilles for Clint Capella. So it might be a little bit of a toss here for the organization because both of them have the same issues with their body and are both around the same age. So I don't think fans can make an objective based decision right here. I think it's all just speculation, and we'll have to wait and see how each player plays down the stretch here. But
yeah, that's funny because Robert said Bogey is too inconsistent.
Yeah, he's been inconsistent, but if he gets rest and he plays that maximum probably 25-minute a night rule, you see him how he's really good. So he's shooting the ball well right now. We'll see, but if Clint Capella continues to play this way and Onyeka kind of dips down, it might lean toward Bogey getting traded, but I do think one will.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on the Heat game tomorrow night before we discuss a little bit of Braves here.
No, I'm good.
All right. And we go to the Atlanta Braves today. They blew an 8-0 lead today in spring training, which was pretty
Really? I couldn't watch the game. Wow.
Yeah, the games aren't televised yet, unfortunately, if you don't have MLB TV yet.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't been able to watch them either. But I did see that, that's kind of, for me, spring training, I'm not going to get too hyped up on it. If the Braves win or lose a game, I don't put too much stock into it. But one thing I do put a lot of stock into in spring training is the guy that's on the margins of the roster. How's he playing in spring training? We know Vaughn Grissom's going to make the roster. He's going to be our starting shortstop, but he's been really good. Really good in spring training, so that gives him a lot of confidence so far. One guy that hasn't been really good, or two guys that haven't been really good, Bryce Elder and Ian Anderson. Two guys that are battling for that fifth starter spot along with Mike Soroka and Colby Allard. Allard has been, he was a Braves farmhand system before we traded him to Texas. And he's been horrible in the major leagues so far in his career. But he's had a good start to the spring. So that's good for him. Soroka, I don't see him making the roster at this point. He hasn't thrown off a mound yet with that hamstring issue.
Still?
And with opening game less than a month away, you have to get him stretched out. You got to get him some bullpen sessions. You got to have him throwing off a mound, sim games, and then an actual game in spring training. I think that's a bit too far for Soroka now.
Yeah, I would say just go ahead and send him back down to AAA or something like that, so he can finally get that game time under him. And then I say maybe towards halfway through the season, see what he looks like.
Yeah, because if that fifth starter's having trouble, maybe he can provide a spark during the middle of the season. We know we have Charlie Morton. We know we're going to have Kyle Wright and then Max Fried. And that fifth starter is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, man, we've known like Ian. He's been up and down since he's been here. So I don't know. Like it's gonna be tough. Like
Spencer Strider's gonna be in that starting mix as well. We know, and hopefully he can have a repeat of that rookie year because he was sensational.
I hope so.
And the pitching depth is going to be one. Look, like we know we're a top tier team in MLB. It's funny because most teams are going to be arguing who's going to make that fifth starter, who's going to be that fifth starter. We're only arguing about a fifth starter, and we know our top four are solidified. So that's a luxury that we have.
Exactly.
But I think overall, Ian Anderson is going to get that fifth starting spot to begin the season. He's had the experience. We know it was really rough for him last year, no doubt.
Yeah,
but he's had the experience in the playoffs even. He's began the season out of spring training a year ago. So I think we'll see Ian Anderson. We'll give him a couple of starts. If that doesn't work, we'll go to Elder. And then maybe that time, if that doesn't work, we'll see Mike Soroka come back. But I don't think Allard, even with that good spring training start, will make the roster just because of his struggles over in the major leagues throughout his career.
I see that. Yeah. Like let him build back up too.
One thing I want to get to before we end the show here. Brian Stinker was interesting that he said Ozuna will be on this team. The Braves are not biting the bullet with his contract. They don't want to give him the money, it seems like. And I understand that he's owed a lot of money. But do we think that Ozuna is going to get significant playing time at this rate? He started spring slow. Eli White has had a really good spring. Sam Hilliard's also had a decent spring. So those could be guys, those fringe guys could make the roster, but it doesn't seem like he didn't say roster. He said this team. So there's a chance Ozuna doesn't make this roster. Do you think that happens, or do we think Ozuna does make the big league club?
I'm torn because of like what he does on the offensive end. You can't ignore it. But
it's so bad. Last year was so bad, but every other year of his career, he was amazing on offense.
Like he was okay on offense last year, but what scares me is his defense. That's what scares me. Like him going for, like a routine ground ball, and it's over in the corner. I'm like, really?
This year, I don't think we'll have to see Ozuna play defense in the field. I think we'll see Eddie Rosario, who's had a good spring too. So that's he's hit a lot of balls hard. But Ozuna, the thing is, for me, if he can just focus on on-field stuff, put all of his commitment onto that, hopefully we see a Marcell Ozuna who was a great hitter throughout every year of his career, pretty much, except for last year. We know his defensive struggles. We know how he's had off the field struggles, but if he can just focus on the field stuff, I think he has a chance to get back to who he was.
Yeah, he has a chance.
I think we give him a chance, but it's going to be a short leash. Last year, they gave him the entire season to pretty much try and find a way to get going, and he did for a few weeks there toward the end. But that was all we had from Ozuna in terms of consistent production last year. It's going to be a short leash this year, maybe 30 games max to begin the season, maybe even less.
Right.
And if he doesn't develop a rhythm, back to AAA or even maybe bought out.
Right. And I want people to, to listen. Like, he hit for power last year. He sure did. But when it came down to getting the timely hit, he was not that guy at all. And that's where our concerns lie at. I hope that he can, focus, like you said, just focus on, playing on the field, and he doesn't have to worry about anything else that's off the field or, worrying about making mistakes on defense, and just focus on, doing what you do best, bringing that offense.
Yeah, and I think we can see a bounce back season from Ozuna at this point. I don't know how likely it is with he struggled for the past 190 so games when he played the second half of 2 seasons ago and the whole of last season struggling. So hopefully we see Ozuna back in, like you said, in this power hitting form. But with that being said, we will end the show right there. We'll end like we always do. All right, and tell them where they can find you.
Hey, y'all can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All you gotta do is look for Big Ant. And also, we appreciate everybody coming out, supporting us when y'all didn't really have to. And we do this for y'all. This is not, this is therapy for us, just talking about it. But it's not for us. We do it for y'all.
Yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in always. At Southside, always being here every single week, it seems like. So definitely shout out to Southside. Appreciate you. You can find me, as always, on Twitter at PinWizard300 and on YouTube streaming Georgia Sports Nation at Recapping Hawks Hoops. But with that being said, we're gonna end the show right there. Don't forget to tune in next week at 6 o'clock on Friday, same time, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace out.